So, if you watch the intro to my first video, pretty much let me recap. I'm going through a lot of self-discovery things. I am 30 years old and I'm dealing with the aftermath of narcissistic abuse. And I realize that it affects me in more ways than one. It's something that I've been in denial about for a long time, and still am in denial about. The unfortunate thing for that is that doesn't help me. It actually makes it worse on me and makes things more difficult in my life than they need to be. Like I was saying in the earlier clip, I was talking to this guy, and he basically makes it seem as if when I speak about my emotions that it's outlandish and doesn't make any sense. Now, if I was not used to narcissistic abuse and I was unfamiliar with what was going on, I would typically respond like most females do. What are you talking about? That has nothing to do with what I'm saying, and it would cause an argument. Me, with my analytical self, I like to tell narcissists about themselves. Like, oh, you're doing that because you're deflecting. Oh, you're doing this because you're gaslighting. But what we don't realize is empaths that you telling a narcissist what they're doing, they don't give a fuck. They don't care if it's a definition for it or not. In that moment, their goal is to get you to fuck off them, and that's what they're gonna do. So basically, the guy, we were chilling. We dated, not dated, but we were chilling for about a week or two. And at the end of the day, he basically made it seem, like I said, that me being emotional was a problem. First red flag: when you date someone, if they immediately tell you their drama, stop talking to them. When I first met this guy, he immediately began to disclose to me about his baby mama, and that's not really healthy. If you meet someone and they have baby mama drama, if they're a real nigga, you're not gonna really know. Anybody who's willing to put anybody out on blast, that's a red flag. That is a characteristic, that's a trait of a narcissist. They love to amplify themselves and make other people look worse than them. It's a part of the grandiose aspect of it, and that means that they have to rely on their ego to make them feel better than others because they really feel like shit. And in the midst of dealing with narcissists, you forget that this person is very insecure. You forget that they're very broken and they're very fragile. You forget because they're so fucking mean and they make you feel like shit. And then you become like them. You become broken, you become fragile, etc. It's like energy transferring. It's sorry to smoke. That was a good one. You know, when you cough, when you choke, when you smoke. Oh, that means that shit's hitting. Anyway, going through this experience, excuse me, now has led me to feel, first of all, I sound like a scared child who's got their ass beat. Get my throat together. Pause. Okay. Alright. So, like I was saying, when you deal with someone of that magnitude and they stress you out and make you feel this way and that way, you first have to analyze, why am I fucking with this person? Then you have to analyze, how did I allow myself to get here? And then you have to make a plan for how to make yourself feel better. A lot of times when you're dealing with people who are narcissistic, you develop this kind of skin or dissonance, meaning that you don't really want to be bothered with people. You kind of nonchalant, roll shit off. And it's not because you don't care. You're an empath, you have to care. It's for the simple fact that you don't want to care because it hurts too much. And that's something that I'm learning and I'm going through. But I'm also realizing it's the universe pushing me to be stronger and be a better person. I'm going to tell y'all something. The universe is going to never have nothing or anyone around you that's not good for you, that's not meant for you, and that's not supposed to be there for you. Life is about trials and tribulations, and life is about self-discovery, and life is about going through the motions and getting through some shit and coming out on the other side. That is where I'm at in my life currently. But for me, it's more of an inner battle. I'm having a hard time dealing with the loneliness. I do understand that when you have a journey and that when you take time to be with yourself and when you begin to go within and when you begin to get deeper spiritually, that shit is hard. It's hard because you realize that you've ridded yourself of all of the worldly human addictions, people, money, clothes, sex, things that distract you from self. So when you take all of those things away, you have to start from scratch. It's like watching TV your whole life, and I know where someone just come pull the TV up, tell you not you can't watch TV. You're gonna try your hardest, no type of TV. You're gonna try your hardest to not watch on your phone, computer, someone else's house, etc. It's the same concept. Not trying to watch TV if you enjoy TV is gonna be hard for you. I don't watch TV because there's nothing on there that strikes my interest and stimulates my brain. I have sat and tried to watch TV. I get very distracted with my thoughts. But like I was saying, going on this journey, and shout out to Spiritual Soul. He was the one who started me last year on digging deeper within self. I've always been aware of myself esoterically, but not fully aware as I should have been. And the things that he was saying about going into self and all this shit, at first I didn't understand. And I thought he was mean, but he's not mean. He's direct and sees shit for what it is. And I find myself, I've already been that way, but I find the more and more I get into self, I don't really care about demonic negative shit and having a problem with the way I feel, because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if someone fucks with you, loves you as a friend, partner, or whatever, they're going to respect your mind and the way you feel. And if they don't, you need to keep it moving and go deeper within. So as of now, today, I got triggered, and I don't want to say it was a down day, but it was a down day. I went out to eat, went to the thrift store, I did a bunch of different things, but nothing that I do fully fulfilled me. I kept going back to the emotions that I felt this morning, and what I find is a good technique for me, instead of asphyxiating or obsessing over the person and what they did, take them out of that picture. Address the emotions and the feelings and how they made you feel, because the vessel doesn't matter, because that vessel doesn't give a fuck. So you have to kind of put that in your mind, and it's not something that you're going to easily or readily be okay with. It's more so going to come from experience and going through it over and over. Like, all right, I'm sick of this shit. And the reason why you do that is because when you go through something enough, your brain gets tired of you doing the same shit over and over and over and over. So then the irritation is your brain telling you, hey, I want to make a change, I want to make an adjustment. So today, me being a down day and me going over this shit over and over, it was my brain telling me, hey, I know you're sad, but bro, we got to get this shit together. So normally when I'm upset, I don't like to eat. I think that's purely psychological from the abuse that I experienced as a child. But I forced myself to eat today, and I'm going to eat the rest of my food because living is essential for me. I have children, and I am passionate about them and their life. I am passionate about making sacrifices and doing things where it requires a lot of hard work and shit to put in to make it so they're good. So at the end of the day, me saying that is to say anything negative that you do in reaction out of habit to someone's negative behavior, you got to stop it. And when I say stop it, it's not going to happen over time. For instance, my go-to was not to eat. I told myself, you're not doing that. And granted, I didn't eat a lot. I ate half a sandwich and fries and mozzarella sticks, but at least I ate something. And I'm trying. And that's the whole thing of this self-journey. You got to keep trying. Every day you have to get up and try, because that one time that you give up, you give opportunity for that negative ass energy to slip in and to utilize you as a vessel. And I'm going to tell you all something. You don't want that. You don't want that demonic energy using you for a vessel, because once it's done with you and you're left with the aftermath and the mess, you're going to feel like shit. You're going to be tired, because going through toxic shit is draining. going through hurtful things are draining. Have you ever realized when you go through something that's good, happy, positive, healthy, euphoric, you feel good, and when you go through something negative, bad, toxic, you feel bad? Yeah, because energy is real and it transfers. So I'm doing this YouTube because I see a lot of channels where they talk about narcissism, but I don't feel that they talk about it in the way that's realistic. And that's not knocking anybody's channel. It's more of an informational thing with the narcissism things that I see. But I don't really see anybody giving present personal experience. Most people give past experience. There's probably one girl that I know that gives like day-to-day things. But for me, I want to do this because I feel like talking through my shit and me fucking up will help someone else not to fuck up. Like the main things for narcissists, they always, always, always have to make themselves their number one priority. If you're with somebody and you talk to them, they always talk about themselves, red flag. You're with someone, they're always talking about the people and talking shit about them, red flag. Anything that's not about you and that person, and if they talk off topic, if it's not really relevant to anything with you or them, leave that person the fuck alone. Because a lot of people are more narcissistic than you think, and you have what's called a grandiose narcissist, which is one who is more out with it. You can kind of notice it. You can identify it more quickly. A covert narcissist is a person who is they're more hidden. Covert is like hidden. They're not out with their narcissism because they know it can be off-putting. It's more slow, easy paced, bit by bit. In my personal opinion, the covert one is the worst because when it's happening, you're not aware of it until you go off. And that's probably one of the most demoralizing things to be with somebody and you think that your situation is going somewhere and it's not. So at the end of the day, if you are with people or dealing with people and your situation isn't going where you would like it to go, there's no reason why you shouldn't have it to where you can't just leave that person. And let's be clear, it's not easy to leave people. It's not easy to just get up and dismantle yourself and detach. But sometimes you just got to do that shit. And it's not easy because we're humans, we want to bond, we want to attach, etc. But at the end of the day, we have to realize that when you don't let go of something and you hold on to it, that's extra baggage and extra shit you're adding to yourself and your plate. And that's not really fair. And that's something that I'm realizing now what I've been doing to myself. I have been adding to my fucking plate like a buffet line for 30 years. And I say 30 years because I'm 30, but I've been experiencing narcissistic abuse since I've been a child. So when I became aware of the narcissistic abuse when I was younger, my sister was in the room crying, and my mom turns to me and says, "What did you do?" And automatically hits me. I don't even remember what the fuck my sister was crying for. That is probably the first moment that I realized, okay, there's a problem. Over time, my sister did a bunch of outlandish shit, typical teenager shit, and she never really got in trouble for it. Anything that I did, I wasn't fucking in high school. Well, I was fucking towards the end, but middle school was not fucking. I didn't get pregnant by nobody. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't drinking. I was going to school and dealing with abuse. And what I didn't realize is that as a child, I was dealing with it the only way I knew how to deal with it, and that was me being a serial dater. A lot of times you have a narcissistic parent, the abuse will go out and find things to take them away from anything that is a remnant of the abuse, and that even boils down to my goddamn self. So I was a serial dater for a long time, since 3rd grade, and recently in the last 7 years, I've really been through a lot with guys, and going through the things I've gone through, I've learned that a lot of those things I put on myself. I didn't cause people's actions to affect me or to make it to where I'm debilitated or can't go on with life. It's hard to express at this present moment because it's so many different things and factors that I want to hit on, but I don't want to do too much in this video. I'm going to save that for my next one. And in the videos, as they go on, they'll be more structured. A lot of my videos will typically be about me and what I'm currently going through, but I also like to talk about other aspects of me, spirituality, politics and music, things of that nature. And if it fits with the topic, I'll, put it in. But For now, this is going to be like my diary. This is going to be a way for me to get my shit off, because I would rather use a phone and YouTube for a reliable source to vent than to vent to a person who doesn't give a fuck, who disposes the way I feel, or has no intention of listening, helping me get through it, or any of that. And let's be clear, you never rely on anybody, any motherfucking body, for any type of emotional support. Because when you do that, you put yourself in their realm and you're gonna suffer. No one else but you. I've realized that going through the things I'm going through. But at the end of the day, coming out on the other side, I take this shit day by day. Being a serial dater is something that I've had to stop doing, and I've stopped doing it, and in stopped doing that, like I was telling you all before, it's been difficult because I'm so used to running to a guy to escape me. And today, and just now in this conversation, I've had an epiphany. The reason why I get frustrated when I date and it doesn't work out is because I now have to deal with me. And that's some deep shit. Like, y'all, I'm just now figuring this out on this YouTube, and that's kind of fucking crazy. But that's what it is, guys. It's me not wanting to deal with self. So, yeah, you can date. That's fine. But when you date, don't be like me. Stop giving these people high expectations. Assume everybody is not shit, and not in a way where, you know, you're degrading. Just how I talk. As these videos go on, you'll get to know me and how I speak. Just take somebody for the moment in the present and what they're showing you. Don't take people for what they say, because a person can say a bunch of different things, and at the end of the day, if they're not showing you and saying these things, it's just this. And I've learned that the hard way. To deal with people and to date, I feel like you have to date yourself. And I feel like dating yourself allows you to get to know you more as a person. And that is something that I forget at times, that I have been dating myself and that I do know me to a certain extent. I'm still learning me. Another aspect of it is that me not wanting to deal with myself and my issues because it hurts. But at the end of the day, it hurting and me bitching and not dealing with it, that is not going to make anything better for me. Like I was telling y'all before, you have to deal with your shit head on. Being empathetic makes us extremely more vulnerable to bullshit. But being an empath, you have to be able to filter out the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you have to learn how you react emotionally first, more importantly, and how to act accordingly. For example, with me, I am very emotional. I'm very sensitive. So I try not to put myself in situations where I know my sensitivity will be challenged. Now, that's not to say I can control everyone, every scenario, every output, input. No. What I can control is the energy that I'm around. When you're around good people and good energy, typically if you're sensitive, you're not going to feel threatened. Not to say that it's not going to happen, it couldn't happen. There are many different scenarios. But for the most part, if you are any type of person and has any type of personal issue, insecurity, etc., you do what I do. You put yourself in situations where you're not put on spot, where you're not vulnerable. I want people to understand that narcissism is real, and it is a fucking mental disorder. It is not Trump. I'm so tired of people saying that. Okay? Has nothing to do with Trump. Cool, we can call him a narcissist, but when you say that, what defines him as a narcissist? And the things that I hear when they say about him being a narcissist are not relevant to the narcissist that I deal with. Someone being egotistical does not mean they're narcissistic. They can just be highly confident and it comes off as egotistical. Someone knowing what they're talking about or being confident in what they're talking about does not make them a narcissist. A narcissist is a person who has had a trauma that occurred in childhood that was so severe that it's affected them to the point of adulthood. It's made them want to protect themselves to never feel vulnerable at that moment ever again. Normally, a person becomes narcissistic when it's repeated trauma or that trauma was not dealt with in a mature manner. So, at the end of the day, narcissism is real. NPD, which is narcissistic personality disorder, is real. Now, someone can be a narcissist and someone can also have narcissistic personality disorder. To have NPD for short, you have to get diagnosed by a psychologist. I am not a psychologist. I do not diagnose people for having NPD. Now, narcissism or narcissist, it's a spectrum, okay? 1 through 10 if I'm not mistaken. And the higher that you go in that spectrum, the higher and more severe the narcissism is. If someone is 1 through 10, they are an extreme narcissist and probably have NPD. Now, if you're fucking with someone and they hit a couple of things on the narcissistic list, okay, you have to make the choice. Can I deal with these aspects or not? My personal opinion, if you're not a narcissist, don't date one. Because you will try